we are talking about movement, we are talking about respiration, we are talking about reproduction. All those are life processes. And we said that nutrition is divided into two main modes. And of course, the modes are autotrophic, which is self-nourishment, and heterotrophic, which is nourishment on others. We said that autotrophic nutrition is a process by which organisms are able to supply their own food. From inorganic nutrients, please. Is you mute. So from inorganic materials, so we call it heterotrophic, but when they can synthesize their foods from inorganic materials, we call it autotrophic. And of course, there must be a source of energy. I have told you the source of energy could be light or could be from chemicals. So those organisms that make their food using light as the source of energy are called the photoautotrophs. And that mode of nutrition is called photosynthesis. Then there are those ones which use other foods. Please, Vanita, unmute.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Vanita, you are not mute now. Vanita, mute to avoid that echo. Okay. Yes, mute now. Whereas one person gone again. Vanita, please mute. Vanita, please.
Yes.
Mute. Of course, there was a lot of echo. So we have said the modes are of two types, autotrophic and then heterotrophic. Please, when you join, make sure you mute because the session is on. Miriam, mute. And Vanita, you are muting and unmuting again. Please put off the mic such that we don't get the echo. Miriam, mute. Okay. Vanita also mute. Okay, I think we can now proceed. So we are saying the first mode is the autotrophic, where organisms make their own food. And because of that, we look at two types. One is those ones which use the source of light as their energy. We call it photoautotropic organisms. And then those ones which use other chemicals, we call it the chemoautotropic organisms. You people, once you enter, you mute your microphone because this echo affects both you and me equally. Now, if we have looked at that mode, those that photosynthesize use light as the source of energy, and then those that use chemicals, we call them chemosynthesis. And we said it is common in chemosynthetic bacteria, and some of them are sulfur bacteria, and then we have iron bacteria. Then we talked about another mode of nutrition being heterotropism or heterotrophic nutrition. We are saying the organisms feed on already manufactured food. And then we are saying they are of 5 different types, which we talked about: parasitism, we talked about symbiosis or mutualism, we talked about saprophytism, we talked about phagocytism, and we talked about holozoic nutrition. Actually, we said parasitism means an association between 2 different species in which one organism called the parasite obtain food from the other, which is called the host, and then causes harm. We gave examples of a tapeworm in the gut of man, and then a cow and a tick. All of these are parasitic modes of life. And then we have saprophytism, where an organism feed on dead and decaying organic matter. I have given an example of mainly fungi, the mushroom, the muca, as you can see, and then some worms, the earthworms, and what that feed on dead and decaying organic matter. Then we say there is another mutual relationship, which we call symbiosis or mutualism, where 2 organisms of different species both benefit from one another. But of course, only one benefits nutritionally. We said an example is a lichen, which is an association between a fungi and algae. Then we talked about root nodules having those bacteria, which we call the nitrogen fixing bacteria, the azotobacter, the nitrobacters. All of them get shelter from the root, but also they are capable of fixing nitrogen into nitrates, which is absorbed by the plant. We talked about protozoans and then the ruminants, which aid in the breakdown of cellulose in the alimentary canal. We talked about so many bacteria, like bacteria and in small intestines. Then we talked about another mode of nutrition where an organism engulfs or surrounds the food, secretes an enzyme, and then digests that food and take. And we said that mode is called phagocytosis. Then we also talked about Holozoic nutrition, where the food passes through the hollow sections of an organism, and it is very common in all animals because for them, they have specialized digestive tract. They're capable of taking food internally and then absorbing it. And we said that Holozoic nutrition has several characteristics. They are shown by the fact that food must be taken in through eating. We actually take in food through our mouth. Grasshoppers do the same. Cows, goats, and what do the same. Then there is breakdown internally, actually in the colon, which actually now we call it digestion. So it breaks down complex organic molecules into simpler one. So this simpler one can diffuse across the walls. Then once they are broken down, they have to be absorbed. So we call it absorption. And then that food absorbed must be used, what we call assimilation. I've told you some may be used to build new tissues. Others may be broken down to release energy during respiration. Others are used as source of energy for locomotion, and many others. That is what we call assimilation. Then lastly, the undigested ones are supposed to be removed. And that process of removing is what we call digestion. So I'm just revising what we had talked about before we can discuss our main content today. We say that those organisms that undergo Allozoic nutrition are divided into 3. We have the herbivores, which feed only on plants. And we have cows, we have goats, we have elephants. They feed extremely on vegetations. Then there are those ones which feed only on flesh, like lions, like cats, like dogs. Of course, these days, dogs have modified their ways of life because dogs can feed on portion. But I'm telling you that the food for a dog is entirely meat. But because of some changes and scarcity, organisms can't die now. They can change their mode of life. Then there are those that are omnivores. An example is man and a pig. They feed on both plant and animal materials. Now, we also said that there are few plants and some algae which are called mixotropes because they can obtain food either by self, autotrophic, or at times they also get ready-made food and then they digest it. An example is Englena and then the Venus fly trap. So those are some of those examples of that. So I had told you we are going to discuss something very briefly, and then here we participate and give me the answer. Are you people able to see what is on the screen? Can I hear the response?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Beatrice, can you read the question?
I read.
Yes.
Live molds across your mycota are prototypes. They feed on decaying organic matter, bacteria, and protozoa. Which of the term describes their nutrition? Nutritivore, autotroph, then heterotroph.
Okay, so which one best describes according to you? The alternatives are A, one only. That means it is a detritivore. Alternative B is 1 and 2 only, meaning that it is an autotrope or a detritivore. Number C is 1 and 3 only, meaning that somebody is saying it is a detritivore and then a heterotrope. Then D, somebody is saying is 1, 2, and 3.
Did I try?
Yes.
I think C.
C is 1 and 3. Why do you say it is C?
So what's the meaning of nutritivore?
Nutritivore is like a recycler. It breaks down to release the components that are locked up in the food. They are actually recyclers. Lynette, what is your... Lynette? Lynette. Okay, Vanita.
Teacher B.
B. Are you sure?
Yes.
Is B? B is 1 and 2. Now you are saying it is an autotrope. They are saying it feeds on decaying organic matter, which is bacteria and protozoa. That means that it does not make its food. So it rules out any question that has 2. Eh?
Shall we try?
Yes?
I think it's C.
Okay. So it is C because for it feeds on dead and decaying organic matter. That means that it breaks them. So it is a detritivore. And then 2, we had said that they also feed on ready-made food because they're saying they feed on decaying organic matter, meaning that it is already made. So the correct answer is 1 and 3, which is given in alternative C. Now, another question. Can I have someone read that question? Who is there ready to read that question?
There is no question.
There is no question.
It's there.
Eh?
It's there.
Okay, I've seen it.
Okay. Can you read it loud?
the scarlet cap fungus, Sarcocipher coccinea,
Yes.
its nutrition from the digestive enzymes and absorbing the digested products. Which of the following terms describes the fungus? 1. Autotroph. 2. Heterotroph. 3. Saprotroph.
Okay. Beatrice,
Yes.
can you suggest which one is the correct answer here?
It's A.
It is A. It is a saprotroph.
Yes, that's what I think.
Okay. Who else? Elizabeth?
I also think it's A.
I think it is A. So you say that. Where is Vanita is not talking. Vanita, I want to hear you.
I think it's A.
Why do you think it is not a heterotroph?
Teacher, I try.
Yes.
It's because it does not make its own food.
Heterotrophs don't make their own food.
Food.
Oops. That's like it.
Huh?
Heterotrophs feed on already made food.
Then why do you think it is not? Because this one, they are also feeding on ready-made food.
Because they feed on dead organic matter, and after they absorb nutrients from there, after they absorb solutions from the dead decaying matter.
I think that is very good. You know, in biology, answers are very close. Now you can see that one, a sapro is an example of heterotroph. But remember the question, please, the rest of you can mute now. Okay, that's good. So here, you can see that there are two answers which are correct. There is heterotroph because they are feeding on ready-made food. Wood already is made because the unmade food is from carbon dioxide and water. Since it is not there, that means that now the food is already made in form of wood. So it could have been heterotroph. Then saprotroph means that it digests the wood and then absorbs the product, which is also correct. So definitely the correct answers would have been two, heterotroph and saprotroph. But look at the question. The question is saying, which of the following terms describes the fungus? Now you look at the most correct of them. And of course, the most correct is saprotroph. And therefore, since it has that alternative of only the most correct, then C is our correct answer. The last question. Can I have who has not read? Vanita?
Teacher, excuse me.
Yes.
Teacher, excuse me.
Yes, I'm getting you. I repeat.
So number 2, you'll say the yes.
Number 2.
Teacher, why are you saying the answer is C?
Not C. The answer is A. Number 3. Eh?
Okay.
Is A. I'm sorry if I had said the answer is C. The answer is A, which is the most correct. Vanita?
Yes, teacher.
Can you read question number 3? Are you able to see it?
I'm not hearing.
Can you read question number 3 on the screen?
The relationship between fungi and algae in the lynch is the best described as
In leaching, best described as, okay?
in leaching.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the alternatives are?
A. A. Monsteristic. B. Parasitic. C. Predatory. D. Symbolic.
According to you, which one do you think is the best answer? By the way, before even you answer, let me give you, we have told you that there is that relationship where two organisms coexist and they both benefit. We have told among the 5 types of heterotrophic, I told you there is that relationship where all organisms coexist and they
is best described.
And we said that is what is in a lichen, if I remember when I was trying to describe it. So which type of association did we give here?
Mutualism.
It is mutualistic. It is what?
Mutualistic.
It is mutualistic. Just let me run back very fast so that you can confirm that answer. Are you seeing what is in the screen?
Yes.
Can you read that?
Teacher. A nutritional relationship between two organisms of different species where both organisms benefit. However, only one organism benefits nutritionally.
An example?
Fungi and algae.
Okay.
Or lichen.
That is the same
Fruit
question.
nodules, leguminous plants, and rhizobium bacteria.
Okay, now we brought this question. Don't you think the answer is got from there? So the reason why why I was reviewing, I wanted you to get that, such that you know how questions are set, and then you are able, when you are revising, you are able to derive your answers from there. So because of time, we are not going to look at all the questions. There are many, but they are always posted on your YouTube. You can cross-check. And then I always also send it on your WhatsApp group, such that those who have not been able to get that can get the notes. So you will answer other questions. Now, today we are going to look at food. Like I've told you, that food is any substance which can be digested, absorbed by the body to maintain the body's life processes, which is actually a metabolic process. Now listen, and listen very well. When we talk about food, we don't talk about only what you like eating. Anything. Where if someone eats a dog, someone eats a monkey, someone eats cassava, someone takes water, anything which when taken can be digested and absorbed by the body to maintain the body's metabolic processes is called food. Food is very diverse. And please, the food you eat mainly is attributed to your culture. Some people say one man's food is another person's poison, meaning that there are a variety of foods. But we are saying that anything which can be taken in, digested, absorbed by the body to maintain the body's life processes is actually termed as food. We have, of course, several types of food required in the body. And that is what determines what our diet is. Because what you may eat, another organism may not want. While for you, you throw the bones away, the dogs want them. While for you, you don't eat the wood, the termites need them. While for you, different types of foods that you don't eat, as long as it can be taken by any other organisms, and then it is digested and it is absorbed and then used by the body of that organism, it is termed as food. So the food is usually required by organisms for 5 main reasons, actually 4 main reasons. One is for growth, so as to build new cells. As new cells are being built, your size increases, and then we say, okay, now you have grown or you are growing. And these are body building foods, like you've learned it in primary, and actually they are called proteins. Then 2, your body requires energy. And because of that, the food we eat becomes fuel. The fuel provides that energy. And that type of food is actually called carbohydrates generally. It could be starch, like we eat in cassava, in posho, in sweet potato. It could be cellulose, like most ruminants, goats and cows eat them from grasses and leaves. They are all energy-giving foods. So we say they are useful in production of energy through respiration. Then we have repair of worn out cells and tissues. Remember, every day you bathe, you are scrubbing yourself, you remove millions of cells. Every time you go and shave your hair, where do you think the new ones come from? It is because every time new cells are being produced, and those cells replaces those that are dead and those that are worn out. Therefore, you'll find that even if you have shaved your hair, it keeps on growing. Even if you have removed your fingernails, they keep on growing, because every time new cells that are worn out, those that are destroyed, sometimes you even get an injury and have wounds in your body. And because of that, new cells has to be produced such that there is a healing process for that wound that you have. So all of these are requirement, I mean, what food does to us. Then lastly, food also provide protections against disease, some of which may contain vitamins. You are aware there are diseases that are attributed to vitamin, like this soft porous bones, which we call scurvy, is actually a result of a deficiency of vitamin C. Sometimes there are diseases like kwashiorkor, which comes by lack of proteins in the body. There are diseases like marasmus, which is caused by lack of carbohydrates. So when we eat this food, we actually prevent these diseases. Then we have different classes of food. There are basically 3 main. There are more than 3, but there are 3 main classes. One, we have energy-giving foods. They are very common in fats and oil. By the way, sometimes even proteins, we are going to learn later that they can also give us energy, because proteins are deaminated such that now we convert them into glucose or sugars that are broken down in the body to release the energy. Then we have bodybuilding foods. We call them growth foods. An example is the protein. We find them in eggs, in meat, in beans. They actually help our body to grow. So we call them growth food, which is the second class of food. Then we have protective foods. So it protects our body against infections and disease. Example, we have vitamins, we have minerals, we have protein. In fact, almost these minerals that we see, calcium, potassium, and what, they are very protective, both in plants and in animals. So those are the three main classes of food. So we also have several types of food or nutrient compounds. Remember, I told you a nutrient is the different types of foods that are commonly available to us. So we have basically 6 main nutrients. Actually, there are 7. One is a carbohydrate, which is what we popularly call the energy giving food. We have proteins, which we call it the bodybuilding food. We have vitamins, which are protective foods. We have minerals, which are also protective foods. We have roughages. Most of you want to eat lean meat. You don't want to eat vegetables. Roughages are very important because they help in digestion and breaking down of food, and also help in the proper functioning of our digestive system. We have water, which is a very essential. In fact, all body processes takes place in the presence of water. Then we have fats and and oils. Collectively, we call them lipids. So whether it is a fat or it is an oil, we call them lipids. So we are going to look at each of these types of nutrients, of food nutrients. One of them I talked about is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, when you look at the structure, it is made of mainly carbon, it is made of hydrogen, and it is made of oxygen. Remember, carbon comes from carbon dioxide, which is made by plants. Hydrogen comes from water, and then oxygen also comes from water. So when you combine carbon dioxide and water, you actually get what? You get carbohydrates. The simplest, of course, is a sugar. So they can either be sugars or starches. There are so many sugars that we have. We have glucose. Most of you must have tasted that. We have sucrose, like the one that is common, we commonly use in our tea or porridge or whatever we call it, cane sugars. We have sugars in milk. Most of you, when you're tasting milk, like in yogurt, they are so sweet because they have sugars that we call them lactose. Even in alcohol, in germinating seeds, we have lactose, maltose. This maltose is also a form of sugar. Sometimes they are also in fruits, like in oranges, why they taste sweet, in mangoes, in pineapples, they are there. Such are called fructose. They are all sugars in nature. Then we have starch, which is common in cassava, in posho, in millet, in sorghum, in matoke. All of them have starch. And then, of course, we have another one called the cellulose. Cellulose is mainly found in plant tissues like leaves, like stems, and many others. So all these are the different types of carbohydrates that we have. So we say the carbohydrates are grouped into 3 categories. We have those that are called monosaccharides. We have those that are called disaccharides. We have the polysaccharides. And it depends on how many sugar molecules they are composed of. So members, we are going to have a short break. Maybe if there is one question you can ask, then we shall have a short break and we shall be digesting now to look at what are these that we are calling monosaccharides? What are these we are calling disaccharides? What are these we are calling polysaccharides? Why do we have this complexity? So we shall be looking at that. So if there is a question somebody can ask, then we can have a 2-minute break. Yes,
Sir, I do have a question.
Yes.
Sir, you say that one of the importances of food is that it makes us grow.
Yes.
So why don't other people grow tall? Others are why do some people grow tall and others are short?
Actually, the reason is that we are made of different genetic makeup. There are growth hormones in all organisms. There are those that have excess of such hormones, and then there are those that have limited hormones. So it is brought by our genetic makeup. Of course, we have talked about genes for tallness and genes for shortness, which we are going to learn more when we get to genetics, that there are those factors that control growth. There are others which control height, tall height. There are others which control shortness. So if the shortness in yours is bigger than or is greater than or is dominant to that of